Hello, my name is Livia Hoffman. I'm a senior at St. Ignatius High School with a love of the classical world and Ptolemaic Egypt. I currently volunteer at the National Hellenic Museum and was originally going to provide a series of lectures over the course of 3 weeks on site. Due to the current situation caused by COVID-19, I will be presenting these pre-recorded lectures, which I have titled the Eureka Seminars, online. Today we are going to talk about the Cookbook of Apicius and the cuisine of ancient Rome. We will also have the chance to make an ancient Roman dish. First, we need to talk about Apicius. Marcus Gaius Apicius was a merchant famous for his grand banquets and feasts. Apicius was a true foodie, and would always look to have the best meals. He even sailed to Libya to eat some prawns. However, his banquets and vacations for food were very expensive, and it eventually caused him to go bankrupt. Because Apicius did not want to give up on his habit of eating, he decided to commit suicide after hosting a grand feast. Today, Apicius is remembered as one of the most famous foodies in all of history. Now that we know a little bit about Apicius, we can talk about the cookbook called Apicius. Before we continue, we need to clarify that the cookbook known as Apicius was not written by Apicius, but instead was named after him. The cookbook's actual name is De Re Coquinara, which translates to mean the art of cooking. The cookbook has over 400 recipes, and it is so valuable that it has been printed numerous times. Like modern cookbooks, Apicius is divided into sections based on the main ingredients of the dishes, such as seafood, meats, and vegetables. However, unlike recipe books today, there is a lack of measurements for these ingredients, and there are only a few instructions. Because of this, I will be using Cooking Apicius, written by Sally Granger, when making a dish from ancient Rome. Granger's book only differs from the original text by including measurements and more instructions. Before we go into cooking a dish from Apicius, we should talk about the types of food that the Romans enjoyed and the ingredients that they used when cooking. It is important to note that a lot of the foods we know and love today were not available to the Romans. This is because a lot of our favorite foods are from the Americas. Before the Columbian Exchange, foods like corn, cane sugar, coffee, vanilla, potatoes, blueberries, and pumpkins were not available to the rest of the continent. Because of this, dishes of ancient Rome had to rely on ingredients that were available to them. For example, honey was commonly used to make desserts, as they didn't have access to things like sugar or chocolate. Some ingredients that were used in ancient Roman cooking, which might be unfamiliar to us, were carawinum, passum, and garum. Carawinum is best described as being a grape syrup. Carawinum was used in cooking as a base ingredient rather than for flavoring. On the other hand, passum was used by the Romans for flavoring. Passum is a dessert wine made from dried raisin-like grapes. Because the grapes were dried out, the wine was very sweet and had a raisiny flavor to them. However, the most important ingredient of Roman cooking was garum. Garum is a fish sauce made by fermenting and crushing the intestines of fish. While the production of garum created such an unpleasant smell up to the point where the sauce was created on the outskirts of towns, the final product was actually mild. Garum was so important in Roman cooking that it was even used in dessert recipes, as we'll see today. With all this in mind, we are ready to start cooking. We are going to prepare a dessert. As I mentioned before, I will be using Sally Granger's Cooking Apicius when making these dishes, as she has provided measurements and instructions when cooking. However, none of the ingredients or dishes have been altered from the original cookbook of Apicius, so the dish that we are going to make will be authentic to the cuisine of ancient Rome. Before I start going into how to make this dish, I need to clarify something. The dish that we will make is going to use the original ingredients of the recipe. This means that this dish will contain alcohol. Because of this, I am going to give a legal warning. I do not condone or encourage the consumption of alcohol while under the age limit, and I will clarify that if you are under the legal age to consume alcohol in your country, then you should not consume the alcohol. I am going to make this dish with all the exact ingredients, but if you choose to make this, you can find substitutes for ingredients containing alcohol. Please follow the laws of your country pertaining to the consumption of alcohol. With all this being said, let's get to cooking. I'm going to quickly show you how you can make garum and what you should get for passum. With passum, you can purchase a sweet day wine from the store. However, I recommend purchasing Passito di Pantelleria. Passito is a type of wine which is made using the traditional Roman method for producing passum. There is only one available source for producing passum, and this ancient recipe is used when making passito. This wine is made from a white grape from what is considered to be one of the oldest genetically unmodified vines. Passito di Pantelleria is considered to be the closest thing to the traditional passum recipe. For garum, I am going to be using Colatura di Alici, produced by Gustiamo. Colatura di Alici is considered as being the modern garum, as the traditional method of crushing and fermenting the fish is preserved in the recipe. If you are unable to purchase this, you can make this substitute. You will need to simmer a mixture of 1 carton of white grape juice and 1 bottle of a fish sauce, and you will reduce this to 1/2 of its volume. You should cook this at a low setting, and once the mixture is reduced, you should cool it before storing. This being said, let's start cooking. In order to make the pear patina, you will need 1 pear, 150 milliliters of red wine, 25 milliliters of passum, 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 teaspoon of olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon of garum, 2 eggs, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, and black pepper. To begin, gather all of the ingredients that you will need to make the pear patina. First, cut your pear in half, and then into small cubes. These don't have to be perfect, as they are going to later be made into a puree. When you are finished cutting up the pear, put the cubes into a small pot. Then, take your 150 milliliters of red wine and pour it into the pot. On a low heat, place your pot on the stove and cook the pear until it is softened. This should take around 30 to 40 minutes. While this takes a long time, do not try to speed up the process by increasing the heat. Doing this will burn the wine off too quickly. Once the pears are softened, turn off the stove and take your pot off the heat. Then strain your wine and pears in order to remove any of the leftover wine. After you've done this, transfer the pears into a bowl and begin to mash them into a puree. After you have finished mashing the pears, take 2 eggs in a separate bowl and then whisk them together. Do this for around a minute. Then, when you have finished, combine the eggs with the pears, stirring the two until they are sufficiently mixed. Now, you will add your remaining ingredients. Put in 1/2 of a teaspoon of garum, then a tablespoon of honey, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, some freshly ground pepper, then 1/2 a teaspoon of olive oil, and finally, 25 milliliters of passum. Now, stir in all of your ingredients. Take 3 small pudding dishes and lightly coat them with olive oil. Then, evenly distribute your pear patina mixture into your pudding cups. Place them on a baking pan and bake your patina for 20 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, or 190 degrees Celsius. After the patina has baked and cooled, drizzle on some honey and grind some pepper for decoration. You have now made a traditional pear patina. Thank you for attending my lecture on the cuisine of ancient Rome and my tutorial on how to make pear patina. While the dish has very unusual ingredients, mainly garum, the dessert is actually tasty. The key is making sure to only add a hint of the fish sauce. Doing this gives the dessert some depth. I would personally compare this dish to a mix between a pudding and a cake. It's actually very good. You can make adjustments as you like, but make sure to have fun with it. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye!